Hey there, YouTube. What is going on? This is Moonlight. I'm here with the Week 6 matchup for the IDA. This week, we faced Aliara and the Venomville Vileplumes, and his team of Dialga, Toxapex, Chansey, Comfey, Moltres, Ferroseed, Flying MZ, Mega Medicham, Shaman, Rotom, Mamoswine, and Snorlax. So, right off the bat, Dialga and Mega Medicham are two massive threats that he has. I have 0 switch-ins to Dialga, and my switch-ins to Mega Medicham are limited to my Tangela and my Seismitoad. And then, of course, he's got the Toxapex. He has Mamoswine, which I'm definitely 100% expecting Mamoswine and Toxapex to be on his team. Toxapex because it's a great wall on his end. Sorry, that was my refrigerator going. It's spotty sometimes. So Toxapex I'm 100% expecting because it gives him a great wall. Mamoswine I'm expecting, and I'm expecting Scarf Mamoswine because I know for a fact that he's going to want to outspeed my big threats, and he's going to want to be able to kill them with Stone Edges, Earthquakes, Icicle Crash, and Ice Shard before they can kill it. So, and other from those four, I could see Moltres coming. It's a great offensive choice for him. Plus, Flying EMZ for Stab Z Fly. Comfey is possible. It's really annoying to deal with. And so when I was making this team, I completely forgot about Triage, and you're going to see that in the match. Ferroseed didn't really see it coming this week because I have so many threats like Swellow, Mega Gallade, Rotom Heat, Kyurem Black. They all just blow through that thing. Snorlax I could see coming, and same with Rotom. Because Snorlax, it gives him a great, just like big fat Pokemon. With Curse, I have Papa Berry, but I have Mega Gallade, which is a really good counter to it. And then Rotom, I could see him just wanting to use it as like pivoting, defog, Will-O-Wisping. So the team, I saw him coming. Well, and then of course Chansey, which just gives him another great wall. He drafted a lot of fat, so that's annoying. So as far as the team, I thought he would bring. I was thinking Dialga, Toxapex, Mega Medicham, Mamoswine, Chansey, and then Moltres. And then but I could also see Shaman coming in place of Moltres, because yeah. So the team that I brought, so we're gonna get into it. So I have Slade the Mega Gallade, Sword Stance, Close Combat, Psycho Cut, and Knockoff. With Max Attack, Max Speed, Jolly Nature with 4 Special Defense EVs, the standard set that I've been running. But it works super well. Psycho Cut over Zen Headbutt because there's a high critical hit chance, and I don't want to have to risk the Zen Headbutt miss because it is an 80% accurate move. But other than that, this is like my late game win con. Because with the exception of Scarfers, it outspeeds his entire team naturally. So that's always a great thing. Swords at +2, I pretty much just obliterate his entire team. Bard, I think Dialga is the only thing that can tank like a +2 close combat. Although I'm not 100% sure on the calcs. And then knock off there for obvious reasons, just to get rid of items. Next we have Mr. Noodle, the Tangela. I'm bringing Eviolite Regenerator, same like EV spread as almost every other week I brought it, but with Leech Seed, Toxic, Giga Drain, and Sludge Bomb. And I'm bringing Toxic over Knockoff because I already have Knockoff and Mega Gallade, and I just thought that risking the 30% chance on Sludge Bomb probably wasn't the best option, so Toxic I thought would be best. That way I could Toxic something like Moltres or Shaman on the switch-in, although Shaman, of course, gets Natural Cure. So it was really more so for something like Mega Medicham or Moltres. Next we have Oogie Boogie, the Gengar. I'm bringing Choice Specs again with Shadow Ball, Sludge Wave, Focus Blast, and Thunderbolt. Focus Blast I'm bringing because it OHKOs the Dialga. Shadow Ball and Sludge Wave for stabbing because he has, with the exception of his normal types, no switch-ins to Choice Specs Shadow Ball, and with the exception of Dialga no switch-ins to Choice Specs Sludge Wave outside of Toxapex. And then Thunderbolt is there because it hits I'm pretty sure it OHKOs most Toxapex variants, and it's a guarantee to a KO on Mega Medicham. So that's always a good thing because Gengar does outspeed Mega Medicham, and I did originally have Psychic, but then I realized that Thunderbolt did damage to those two Pokemon. Did more damage to those two Pokemon. Sorry. So next we have Flora the Florges, Leftovers, Wish, Protect, Defog, Moonblast, so that way I don't have to deal with hazards. Max HP, 84 defense, 172 special defense. And this EV spread, so obviously it allows me to tank, and obviously this thing tanks almost every special hit that he wants to dish out. I'm pretty sure this special defense spread allows me to tank. I think it's a flash cannon from Dialga, and then do massive damage back to it with Moonblast. And then the defense spread, the 84 in defense, I believe, if I remember correctly, it is so that Icicle Crash from Mamoswine is, I think it's like a 40% chance to 2-8 KO, but the roll is in my favor, and it allows me to take hits better from Mega Medicham. Next, we have Spark Plug, Rotom Heat, which is definitely either going to be one of my late game win cons or a breaker. So Choice Scarf with 44 HP, 4 special defense, 208 speed, max special attack, and the timid nature. So this pretty much allows me to outspeed all variants of Scarf Mamoswine. I can outspeed Scarfed Moltres. And the 44 HP is just so I can tank hits better. With Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Overheat, and Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball for the normal Rotom, just because that thing can be annoying, and it's the best move I have that can hit it. Plus, it does more damage to Mega Medicham than, say, a Dark Pulse, according to my calcs. And then finally, we have Sub-Zero, Life Orb, Ice Beam, Fusion Bolt, Earth Power, Iron Head, Max Special Attack, Max Speed, Naive Nature with 4 attack AVs. Another great breaker. It's pretty obvious as to why. This was probably like the Pokemon I thought like had, out of this entire team, this is the Pokemon I thought had the worst matchup. But out of all the Pokemon that I had left on my team, I thought this would do the best because Klinklang just doesn't do enough offensively. Seismitoad, pretty decent defensively, but a lot of his mons, like Shaman, break through it, and then of course he's probably going to have like grass coverage to deal with Seismitoad because that thing is annoying. And then Swallow didn't do too well against his walls, and yeah, so I thought this was the best team. So we're going to go into the match. So for the most part, he brings a pretty similar team to what I was expecting, except he brings Comfey and he brings Ferroseed over Chansey and Toxapex, which I found kind of weird. So it's something. So like looking off at this matchup, Rotom has a phenomenal time. Breaks through his entire team with either Overheat or Thunderbolt. So. And I know that with the current spread I have, if he leads off from Mega Medicham, I can come close to OHKOing it with, what's it called, Overheat. So I lead off with Rotom, and he leads off from Mega Medicham. He Megas up, and he fakes out turn 1. And so here, I got a little bit nervous because I realized that Rotom was a little too valuable for me to sack it off this early in favor of damaging the Mega Medicham. So I switch into Tangela. He goes for some Headbutt. And so I go for the Leech Seed, and he brings in Ferroseed instead. So I go into Rotom Heat, and he goes for the Thunder Wave. And because Rotom Heat is an electric type, I'm immune to it. So I go for an Overheat here, and I do a shit ton of damage to the Comfey. But then I put myself into a really bad position. I go to Florges, and he Calm Minds up. In hindsight, what I should have done was that I should have just gone into Gengar and pressured him out. But I was expecting like an offensive move of some kind. So this puts me in a bad spot. So I try Moonblasting to get damage off, and he just starts to Calm Mind. He's at +2, Calm Minds again, and he gets to +3. So at this point, I was in a predicament. Either I sack something off to Comfey, or Floor just goes down. And And so I completely forgot about Triage in this moment, but even then, it wouldn't have mattered because I knew I had to sack something off because Gengar can't take 2 Draining Kisses at this point. So, at this point, I realized, like, the least valuable member on my team is Kieran Black. So, I do go into Kieran Black. I was expecting another Calm Mind, but he does go for the Draining Kiss, and I was really irritated at this moment because I did forget about Triage. But it wouldn't have mattered even if he had gone for another Calm Mind. It just would have made the game more difficult. So I go into Gengar here. Sludge Wave is guaranteed to hit KO. And so I do remember about Triage here. He goes for the Draining Kiss, but Curse Body comes in really clutch. And so Leftovers is annoying. He goes for Giga Drain. Does a good chunk, and I knock it out with Sludge Wave, and he goes into Mega Medicham here. And I was really confused as to why he went Mega Medicham. So I was just like, I can get a free Sludge Wave off and do a huge chunk. I think it did like 51% minimum. But he reveals Bullet Punch, which is good prep on his end, because he would have had no other way to hit Florges. And so at this point, I was guessing that his final move was either something like probably like a Drain Punch. So here I go into Tangela, Leech Seed again, the obvious play. And so I go into Rotom. He goes for his own Leech Seed, and at this point, I was panicky. So I go into Rotom, and I just go for a free Overheat here. Because Moltres takes a big chunk, that's what he brings in. I go for the Overheat. It does 34%, which is pretty good damage. And so I switch out into Florges, and he goes for the Hurricane, and he misses. So he switches back out into Ferroseed. I go for the Wish, and I go into Rotom to bring it back up to full. He goes for Gyro Ball, doesn't do much of anything. And so here he reveals the Protect, which I will say, great prep on his end. So I do show the Thunderbolt. I don't do anything. And so I go into Tangela here. He made a phenomenal prediction. And so he went Moltres on my switch into Tangela. And so that forced me to switch out into Florges. And it was also a really risky play on his end because Thunderbolt would have killed the Moltres. And so he goes for the Fly Z here, which does 45%, but Florges eats it all day, every day. So he goes Dialga. I go for Wish. I go for Protect, and he gets up his Rocks, which is really annoying. So I just, I think I Wish again, yeah. And so he switches into Mamoswine, and then he switches into Mega Medicham. So I'm guessing that he was expecting me to switch into, like, Tangela. I don't know why. Because, I mean, I took any hit from Dialga. Like, all the calcs I did were versus Life Orb Dialga. Choice specs wouldn't have mattered, because it's the same damage output. So, I get off my Wish, and I get off a default to get rid of the Rocks. So I go for Protect here, and he goes for a Fake Out. And so at this point, I know for a fact he doesn't have High Jump Kick. So he goes for the Bullet Punch, does nothing to Tangela. And so I go for the ballsy play, and I click Toxic. And I mean, he could have easily gone Ferroseed, and that would have been annoying. But I wasn't expecting him to go hard Ferroseed. Mostly because, my guess is that he was expecting me to do something. I don't know. But I was guessing he wanted to go Moltres for the offensive momentum. And so the Toxic is really nice, so I go to Florges. He goes for the Flamethrower. It's fine, just 25%. And so I just get off a Moonblast, sorry. Do a solid chunk to the Ferroseed. And I go into hard Rotom here. He misses the Leech Seed, which is a little unfortunate on his end. He goes for Protect, blocks another Overheat, and he goes into hard Dialga. So I do a good chunk to the Dialga, and then he reveals to be Choice Scarf Dialga. which I just found really surprising. So, at this point, I was guessing that Rotom was going to go down because Overheat didn't kill, but I get a critical hit, which is good for me because now I get to keep Rotom. He goes into Mega Medicham, and I just go into Tangela because Rotom still put in a shit ton of work in this match. So this was my best option. He goes into Ferroseed, Leech Seed, of course. Kept going for some dumb, obvious plays. He goes for his own Leech Seed. I don't go into Fortress to try to get a Wish off into the Rotom. So he does some massive damage to me with Charball. He goes into Mega Medicham. Yeah. And so I get my HP back on the Florges. I go Tangela. He goes Fake Out. Once again, does absolutely nothing. He goes Ferroseed. I go into Rotom. And now I have the momentum. But, of course, he goes Protect. And I run out of Overheats, and so I struggle to death. And Ferroseed picks up that kill. So that's really, really irritating. But Mega Gallade just comes in and pretty much cleans for the most part. So he goes Protect. I just go for the close combat. If I had gone for Swords Dance here, it still wouldn't have mattered because I know he has Scarfed Mammal in the back. So he lets Ferroseed go down, and he just hard brings in the Mammal. And I had already expected it to be Choice Scarf, but him bringing in Mamoswine this hard screamed to me that it was Scarf. So I go into Florges here because Florges is my best switch into Mamoswine. And so at this range, I cannot take another Icicle Crash, so I go for the Protect, and obviously, I protect it, so I go for the Double Protect in order to get some more HP, and I hit the Double Protect, which is absolutely clutch. And so now, I think it's like a 50% chance for him to knock me out, but I just go for Wish here. He brings in Mega Medicham, and he pretty much loses all of his offensive pressure. So Florges puts in work. He brings in Moltres. I switch out into Tangela. Good read on his end. So I switch back into Florges. And he goes for Roost, which is, once again, a little annoying. But it's fine, so he goes Hard Mammo. I go for a Moonblast, and I take it down below half. And so, rather than save Florges, I just hit it with another Moonblast and take out the Mamoswine. That's a big threat to Mega Gallade gone. He brings in Mega Medicham. I go for the Protect. Because Bullet Punch, I think, did like 53% max. It did 53% maximum with this spread. So I hope to get the odds with the Double Protect. I don't, which is a little upsetting. So he knocks out Florges. I go into Tangela, and I just go for a Leech Seed on the Moltres, just so I could be a little bitch. So Tangela goes down, and so at this point, I complete. You know what? I'll wait. So I go Mega Gallade, and I go for the Psycho Cut, and I get the crit, which knocks out the Moltres because normal Psycho Cut did not kill. So, oof. And then he brings in Mega Medicham, and I was thinking, all right, he's gonna Fake Out, and he's gonna Bullet Punch. And at this point, like most of my numbers were telling me that I could not. Well, I mean, I actually, I was going to die to a Fake Out and then 2 Bullet Punches. And I completely forgot about Inner Focus at this point in time. So he goes for the Fake Out, and I get the Psycho Cut off. And so I get off the Psycho Cut again, and we win 1-0 and upset the number 3 team in the league. And my heart was just pounding at this moment in time. This was the one and only time that Inner Focus was actually a good ability on Mega Gallade. The one and only time that was actually a good idea. So we improved to 3-3. We're still at a minus differential. I believe it's a -3 differential at 3-3, but we're back in the playoff race. I mean, we were still in the playoff race, but now I have a better chance of making playoffs. depending on how far the season goes. Next week is versus the Terrible Totodile. And they're pretty good. They're, I believe, number 7 in the league. Top 6 teams make playoffs, so he's in the hunt for the playoff race right now. And so that should be a good game, so stay tuned for that. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.